Many of us know the scene as the Red Wedding from the Game of Thrones series, which left audience shocked and horrified. A moment of betrayal so quick and so brutal that it burned itself into the history of television. But what if I told you that the story is actually not fictional? Today we're going to explore the real-life events that inspired this particular scene, the Black Dinner of 1440 and the Glencoe Massacre of 1692. Two moments in history where the bonds of trust were shattered and betrayal ruled supreme. The Red Wedding represents the ultimate portrayal of hospitality in the Game of Thrones series. House Stark, which we were all rooting for, was already weak by war, and they got an invitation to a wedding by Edmund Tully and Rosalind Frey, seeking to mend their broken alliances. But what follows is a scene of unmatched brutality, as we can see, where Robb Stark, his mother Catelyn, and their loyal soldiers who are ambushed and slaughtered by their hosts and the Freys. These moments were actually not fictional. These things used to happen throughout history. So George R.R. Martin actually got inspiration for the Black Dinner and the Glencoe Massacre, as I said before. We're gonna start with the Black Dinner. It was in the 15th century of Scotland. The kingdom was rife with tensions, and clans wielded for power. Alliances shifted, and betrayal lurked behind every castle wall. In 1440, young William Douglas, the 6th Earl of Douglas, who was just 16 years old at this point, was invited to dine at Edinburgh Castle under the protection of King James II, who was a boy himself at that time. It seemed a gesture of reconciliation, a chance to ease tensions between the powerful Douglas clan and the crown. But what happened was anything but peaceful. As the feast unfolded, a black bull's head, a symbol of death, was brought to the table. The Douglases, realizing the trap, were seized. Despite their youth and the sacred setting of the king's hospitality, William and his younger brother were dragged out and executed. This treacherous act, later dubbed the Black Dinner, left a stain on Scotland's history and inspired tales of mistrust and vengeance for generations. So now if you think about it, this sounds very familiar to the Red Wedding. A meal, laughter, festivities happening, but then all of a sudden it just turns into a bloodbath. George R.R. Martin himself has cited that the Black Dinner was one of his inspiration for this infamous scene. And it's a grim reminder of the power struggles that have defined human history throughout these times. And if you fast forward 250 years into 1692, we're still in the Scottish Highlands. For whatever reason, it seems to attract a lot of these things here. The Scottish Highlands are a land of rugged and beauty and fierce loyalty, and becomes another stage for another betrayal. But this time, it's the MacDonald clan of Glencoe who suffered at the hands of their supposed allies. The MacDonalds had delayed swearing allegiance to King William III, a slight that would seal their fate. Under the disguise of friendship, soldiers from the rival Campbell clan were quartered with the MacDonalds. For 12 days, they shared meals, stories, forging bonds of trust. But in the early hours of February the 13th, the Campbells turned on their hosts. On orders from the crown, they massacred 38 MacDonald men, women, and children.
Men are ready, sir. It's time to carry out our orders.
I know that, Lucy.
Many more died, fleeing into the freezing wilderness. I mean, you have to imagine, the Scottish Highlands are brutal. Just the weather there is... Whew. The betrayal shocked Scotland and cemented the Glencoe Massacre as one of the darkest chapters in the nation's history.
And just like the Black Dinner, the Glencoe Massacre showed the themes of betrayal, destruction and violence, and making it the perfect fit for the Red Wedding.
Betrayal under the disguise of hospitality isn't unique to Scotland or Westeros. Across history and cultures, moments of trust and sanctuary have been weaponized, leading to some of the most horrifying events in human history. Let's look at a few more examples of hospitality gone horribly wrong. In the spring of 1282, the streets of Palermo, Sicily, erupted in violence. What began as a peaceful Easter celebration turned into a massacre. The event, known as the Sicilian Vespers, saw the local population rise up against the French occupiers, luring them into a false sense of security with a festival atmosphere before slaughtering them in a coordinated attack. Over the course of a few weeks, an estimated of 3,000 to 8,000 French settlers and soldiers were killed across Sicily. The rebellion effectively ended French rule on the island, leading to its transfer to the Crown of Aragon. It is said that the rebellion was sparked by an incident involving the dishonoring of a Sicilian woman, but the truth is more complex. Years of oppression and heavy taxation under French rule had bred resentment. The Easter festivities provided the perfect cover for an ambush that left thousands dead and changed the course of Sicilian history. Like the Red Wedding, the Sicilian Vespers show how an event meant for joy and community can be turned into a stage for carnage and destruction. Another infamous betrayal occurred in 1572 in France. The marriage of Margaret of Valois, a Catholic, and Henry of Navarre, a Protestant, was intended to bridge the divide between France's warring religious fractions. Instead, it became the backdrop for one of the bloodiest massacres in European history. Known as the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, the event began with the targeted assassination of Protestant leaders gathered in Paris for their wedding. This escalated into a full slaughter that spread across France. Over the span of 2 months, an estimated 10,000 to 30,000 Protestants were killed, with Paris alone accounting for at least 3,000 deaths. The Protestants, invited under the disguise of reconciliation, found themselves trapped in a lethal betrayal orchestrated by their hosts. The massacre not only deepens France's religious divide, but also solidified the perception of Catholic treachery among Protestant nations. If you would like us to dive more into these betrayals throughout history, just leave a comment with what topic we should do next. The Red Wedding isn't just shocking, it's kinda unforgettable. Why is it like this? Why does this particular scene burn itself so much in our mind? I mean, if I think of Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding is one of the top 3 things I think of. The answer lies in the universal themes and its deep connection to both history and human psychology. At its core, the Red Wedding taps into one of our most primal fears, that the places and people we trust the most can turn against us. Hospitality is supposed to be sacred and holy, a guarantee of safety. When that trust is violated, it strikes a nerve that goes beyond the screen. The Red Wedding resonates because it feels real. It mirrors the tragedies of the past. The scene also stands out because it robs the characters and the audience of control. Rob, Caitlin, and their allies are caught off completely off guard. There's no way to fight back, no last minute rescue. There's no one breaking in the door and then be like, yo, we're gonna help you. It was a betrayal loss. It's a gut punch, and it kind of still lingers with us. Because we were all rooting for the Starks, weren't we? Remember when Ned Stark just got killed off in the first season? That was kind of sad. But hey, it's good storytelling.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Another reason the Red Wedding is so popular is that it's based on the real events. Like I said, George R.R. Martin drew inspiration from the events like the Black Dinner and the Glencoe Massacre to create a scene that feels authentic. It shows us that history isn't just a list of dates and battles. It's made up of personal stories and betrayal, loss and resilience. In that sense, the Red Wedding isn't just entertainment. It's a way of understanding the darker side of human nature and the lessons of the past. It doesn't matter if it's the Red Wedding or the real-life events that inspired it. These stories stick with us because they show how easily trust can be broken. They remind us of the pain of betrayal, the weight of loss, and the impact of history on how we see the world. And that's why, even years after it aired, we're still thinking about it. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history's most shocking betrayals. Your curiosity is what keeps these stories alive. We would love to hear, what would you like us to cover next? Is there a specific era, person, or an event that you're interested in? Just let us know in the comment. And as always, this is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.